Hello and welcome to Mastering Perimenopause Nutrition and Lifestyle Hacks in 2025. If you don't know me, my name is Dr. Blessing, and I've been a nutritionist for over 14 years. And about 2.5 years ago, I entered perimenopause, and I realized just how much about perimenopause I did not know. In my story, if I didn't track my symptoms, I never would have known I was in perimenopause. So tracking was very, very important for me, and that helped me rule out other things and ruling perimenopause. And so one of the first few symptoms I started experiencing during perimenopause was the difficulty falling asleep. And it wasn't like, just tiredness or just feeling wired. It was I could not for over a span of 3 months fall asleep and stay asleep. And then the hot flashes came, and then I talked with my mom, and I found out she had very similar symptoms. I went and got blood work done, ruled everything else out, and I was actually quite shocked that at 38 and a half years that I was in perimenopause. But after doing some research, I learned that certain women will enter perimenopause earlier than others. So if you're someone that is in your mid to late 30s and you are experiencing perimenopausal symptoms, you've ruled everything else out, don't allow people to gaslight you and tell you that it can't be perimenopause. And so basically, my journey through discovering that I was in perimenopause and researching and learning more about it is what helped me increase and deepen my passion to help, number one, educate women, because a lot of women don't know that they're in perimenopause. It wasn't talked about as much before. Now it seems like everyone is talking about it, which is good. And so really my goal is to really just educate women about the symptoms so that they know what the symptoms are, and then help support women by creating helping them create a tailored nutrition and lifestyle plan that helps them manage their symptoms. And if you know anything about perimenopause, you know that each woman's journey is very, very different and it's unique to the woman. So what may work for one friend may not work for you. So I'm going to make this presentation very interactive, and I go ahead and I get started because I don't want to waste your time. I know you've taken time out of your day and you did not have to do that. So I like to start right away, and then I'm going to make it a little bit interactive. So as we touch on the symptoms, if you experience that symptom, you can type yes in the chat box. There's going to be a mini quiz at the end, and you can figure out whether you're thriving, surviving, or struggling during perimenopause. So it's just something that's fun. And if you stay to the end, I'll talk about some really important next steps or ways for you to get a little bit more clarity about your specific situation. So if you have any questions, I would say leave them until the end because I get distracted going from the chat and going to the presentation. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and then I will address those questions at the very end. So today we're going to look at solutions to 5 of the most common challenges that perimenopausal women face. And so we definitely know that there are more than 5, but we're just going to touch on the 5 most common. And those 5 challenges are fatigue, bloating, unwanted weight gain, brain fog, insomnia, difficulty sleeping. And so basically my goal is just to provide you with some strategies that you can tailor to your situation and tailor to your body's needs so that you can work with your body, not against it. Again, this is what I mentioned before. Just stay with me to the end of the workshop because I have something special for you, a chance to help you take the next step to feeling your best. Okay, so we're going to start with fatigue. Do you feel exhausted after a full night's sleep? Are you frustrated because fatigue is keeping you from being present and living your full life? Do you constantly feel like you're running on empty? If any of these explains your feelings of fatigue, go ahead and type yes in the chat. So before we talk about fatigue, we need to know what it is, right? And so some people think that fatigue is just tiredness, which it is not. So fatigue is defined as a feeling of weariness or extreme tiredness that can be physical, mental, or a combination of both. It's usually characterized by a profound sense of tiredness, lack of energy, and decreased motivation. And the thing that separates it from just plain tiredness or plain sleep deprivation is that it doesn't go away when you actually get a chance to rest. And so, especially in perimenopausal women, the big question is, so why are we even struggling with fatigue? So what happens during perimenopause is we have the increasing and decreasing of estrogen and progesterone. So these are more of spikes. So it's not a gradual decline. It spikes, it goes up, it goes down. Our estrogen levels aren't as stable as they were before we entered perimenopause. And so what happens is that will actually affect your body's ability to produce energy. And so one way that this happens is the increasing and decreasing progesterone and estrogen, the increasing and decreasing or the fluctuating progesterone and estrogen, what that does is it actually starts interfering with your metabolism. And when that happens, that can lead to you feeling more fatigued. Another thing that has to do with hormones is the blood sugar roller coaster. So, as women enter perimenopause, what happens is as estrogen levels decrease, what happens is we become more insulin resistant, right? So, this means that our body doesn't respond the same way to the sugars that are in the foods that we eat. And so that can lead to immense fatigue because the cells, so you have the cell, insulin is the little receptor that lets the sugar from our food enter the cell. So when you're insulin resistant, it's not responding and it's not allowing the sugar to get into the cell where it provides energy. And so if your cells aren't getting energy, we have to think big picture. We have to think our brain. If the cells in our brain are not getting enough energy, what will happen is we're not going to have enough, we're not going to get the sugar that the brain needs to function. And so that we know that the brain functions and gets its energy mainly from sugar. So if we're not giving it that source of energy, of course we're going to feel fatigued because the brain doesn't have the nutrients it needs to do its job, help us process, help us be on alert, all the different things that the brain does. And then also sleep quality. So during perimenopause, there are many things that can interfere with our sleep. So in perimenopause, some women will become more anxious, some will become more depressed, and this is just the cells' response, like the cells in the brain and the neurotransmitters, the cells that produce neurotransmitters, these are their response to the decreasing estrogen levels. So as estrogen levels decrease, the cells that produce the neurotransmitters, they don't produce as much. And so when they're not producing these neurotransmitters, what it does is it can affect your ability to sleep. So it's important to, it's so, okay, so there are many things that can interfere with our sleep. So one of those things is the hot flashes, right? So hot flashes will interfere at different parts of the sleep cycle. So non-REM sleep is a section of sleep that actually helps us be able to get that restorative sleep. So when we're fatigued, it can be caused by hot flashes or night sweats that can interrupt that phase of sleep and make it harder for us to fall asleep. And so, we'll spend less time in that non-REM sleep. And when we're spending less time in the non-REM sleep, we wake up feeling exhausted even though we've slept for 8 hours. It also plays a role in the neurotransmitters. Estrogen and progesterone have profound effects on the different cells in the body. And this all plays a big role in blood sugar regulation and definitely sleep quality. So a simple lifestyle hack is to create just a very simple morning routine. Starting your day with 10 minutes of natural light can help you feel more relaxed and more energized. But it's important to create a simple morning routine because this helps create a consistent wake time. It helps create a little routine that helps your body know, hey, it's time for me to get up. So one of my clients, she didn't have a simple routine, and so she wanted to try something different. So she would actually walk around her block. 10 minutes after she gets up, she walks around the block, and that helps her know, hey, it's time for me to get up, time for me to wake up. On days she's not able to walk around due to inclement weather or things like that, she feels very sluggish. So creating something that helps your brain know, hey, it's time for me to wake up, because our body runs on routine. And so creating something that's consistent, which includes a consistent wake time, or, maybe for you, it's doing yoga, drinking tea, whatever it is, creating something that triggers your brain to think, hey, it's time for me to get up and get on with the day. So some nutrition hacks. So it's very important to prioritize protein and eat it with every meal. So what protein does is it addresses the issue of insulin resistance or blood sugar spikes. So when we eat protein, protein helps stabilize our blood sugar levels, and it provides us with energy over a long period of time, as opposed to, eating a donut and feeling full and then having your blood sugar spike and then you have a crash either later in the morning or after lunchtime. Each Every woman's body is different. So eating protein and adding protein helps stabilize your blood sugar levels, which keeps you from becoming more insulin resistant. And also fatigue can be a sign of dehydration. So a lot of us, we're not drinking enough water. We're, chugging that coffee just to be able to make it through the day. And we need to drink water. We need to properly hydrate. The brain needs us to properly hydrate because it uses when we're properly hydrated, we have increased mental clarity. So making sure that you're adding protein to help stabilize your blood sugar levels, and then also making sure you're staying well hydrated. And especially as women get deeper into perimenopause, we're more prone to being dehydrated without even accounting for habits of like not drinking water. So the next thing is bloating. So feeling bloated can make you feel very uncomfortable. I know a lot of complaints I've gotten from past clients is they don't fit in their clothes anymore. They feel very uncomfortable. So if they're at work and they have to give a presentation, they have a sense of feeling uneasy, uncomfortable in their body. And so bloating is defined as a feeling of fullness or pressure in the abdomen. And then there are two main causes of bloating. So the two causes kind of go into digestive and hormonal. So digestive bloating is more tied to what you eat, and hormonal bloating is tied to perimenopause, the bloating that some women get before their menstrual cycle. And that is caused by the fluctuating levels of estrogen and progesterone. So before you try to figure out what is causing your bloating, I think it's important to track so you know whether it's something you're eating. If it's something you're eating, track it. If you notice that after you eat it, 30 minutes to an hour, you have bloating, or in some people they have immediate bloating, then you can start removing or reducing the amount of those foods, your trigger foods. If it's hormonal, then you know that it's being caused by estrogen progesterone. So it's not necessarily caused by what you're eating, even though but your bloating can be caused by both. And so hormonal bloating is linked to, of course, the fluctuating levels of estrogen and progesterone. And when those two hormones are fluctuating, what will happen is it slows down digestion. And so when digestion is slowed down, your food is sitting in the small intestine longer, and then you have the microbiome that ferments these foods that are sitting in your small intestine for a longer period of time than normal. And what will happen is you'll start to have gas because when the bacteria start breaking down the food, the byproduct is gas. The digestive system is a tube, and so that air has nowhere to go unless you're going to have to pass it somehow. So either burping or farting. So it's important to just know the types or the most common causes of bloating and then ways to address it. So a lifestyle hack is to start by chewing your food thoroughly. So 20 to 30 chews per bite. Now, some people think that, oh, that's just ridiculous. It's too simple. But the thing is that a lot of us, when we're eating during lunch, we're stressed. We're trying to get to the next thing, or we're late to lunch because something in the office kept us longer than it should have. And we have like 10 minutes instead of the full 30. So when you don't chew your food, you make it harder for the stomach acid to break the food down. So the more you chew your food, the easier it is for the stomach acid in the stomach to break the food down. When you don't chew your food, it's harder. So what'll happen is instead of the stomach acid breaking the food down completely, you'll have some undigested food that again will go into the small intestine. And I've mentioned that in the small intestine, you'll have fermentation of the food because it's not, number one, the food isn't going through your system as quickly because maybe it's being caused by perimenopause. Maybe you have hormonal bloating. And so it's always important to make sure that you chew your food thoroughly. And another lifestyle hack is to practice deep breathing. It is so important. What it does is it turns off fight or flight, turns on rest and digest, and when rest and digest digest is on, it promotes digestion. It promotes proper digestion throughout the digestive system. And so this is also very important, but it's also simple and free. So nutrition hacks, definitely adding more fiber to your diet. When you're adding fiber to your diet, don't add too much, right? Because if you add too much and your body isn't used to you eating as much fiber, that can also cause bloating. So this is kind of the situation of too much of a good thing. So if you don't usually eat fiber, just add it gradually. Just you can add some chia seeds, something, just but add it gradually. Don't eat a whole thing of asparagus because from personal experience, that will cause bloating for hours. So just add fiber in slowly and then also make sure that you're staying properly hydrated. When you stay properly hydrated, this allows you to properly eliminate it. So if you add a lot of fiber, you're not staying hydrated, this can actually cause constipation. And because it's prolonging digestion, that can also cause some form of bloating. So if you're adding fiber, add it gradually. And then I mentioned before to identify foods that may cause bloating. So some people have food sensitivities, and unfortunately during perimenopause, a lot of women will develop food sensitivities. So it's important to track the foods that you're eating, track and see if you're having any reaction to these foods so you know what these foods are and you know what will happen when you eat them. I wouldn't say to 100% take them out, especially if they're healthy foods, but I would say take them out for a time and then gradually reintroduce them. So, the one we all dislike, unwanted weight gain. Do you feel overwhelmed by unwanted weight gain, even though you're eating healthy and exercising? Go ahead and let me know yes or no in the chat. So, one of the biggest complaints that perimenopausal women have is the unwanted weight gain. And of course, this doesn't occur for everyone because, again, each woman's perimenopausal journey is different. So the changes in fat distribution are due to the decreases in estrogen. So as estrogen is fluctuating during perimenopause, it leads to, and decreasing, it leads to a redistribution of fat. So that, in addition to the increased inflammation, because estrogen is an anti-inflammatory hormone. So as it decreases, we are more prone and we are in a more inflammatory state. So insulin resistance that I touched on before, insulin resistance that actually can lead you to putting on more weight too. And so it's important to just know that it's not your fault, it's the hormones, and there are some lifestyle hacks and tips that you can implement that will help you combat this. My apologies, I didn't realize it was going to freeze. Okay, so we talked about changes in fat distribution. And so one of the best things you can do, the lifestyle hack, is to strength train. So again, during perimenopause, as estrogen levels decrease, if we're not doing strength training, what will happen is we'll start to lose lean muscle mass. And that lean muscle mass will be replaced by fat, especially in that whole fat redistribution that occurs during perimenopause. And so strength training can help protect and maintain and build muscle. The more muscle that you have, that'll help decrease your fat. And so the more muscle that you have, because muscle is metabolically active, what will happen is it'll make it, the more muscle you have, you're going to have increased insulin sensitivity, which is the opposite of insulin resistance. Being more insulin sensitive is good, right? So we take that insulin resistant off. So that's one factor that can make it hard to lose weight. And then building that muscle, the muscle burns more calories than fat does. But the whole thing is you have to start building that muscle. And that's one of the things I wish someone had told me before perimenopause, to just really focus on strength training. And then again, adding protein and fiber to every meal. Protein is important. It helps stabilize blood sugar levels. Fiber also will help stabilize blood sugar levels, but they help you feel full longer. During perimenopause, a lot of women will get these cravings because they're hungry and they're no longer satisfied with the foods that they ate before. And so adding more protein is very important during perimenopause. It helps support the body. It provides nutrients, and then it helps you feel full. And then also that fiber, because of course we know dark leafy greens, all the veggies and things that are good for you are fiber, are a form of fiber, and that also helps you feel full longer. And fiber helps beat those sugar cravings. So it's important that as we enter perimenopause, we not only do we increase our strength training or start strength training, we eat more protein. We add more protein to our diet so that we're maintaining and building that lean muscle mass. We're balancing our blood sugar. And of course, we're providing the building blocks for that lean muscle. Feeling mentally sluggish can be scary, but you can regain your sharpness with the right strategies. So I don't know about you, but this is one that has really started affecting me now. I didn't have as much brain fog before, but for whatever reason now it just takes forever to get basic things done. Even though I slept well, it's just, so this is one that I'm currently working with myself and using some of these strategies with, because it can kind of just throw you off. So let me know if you are someone who has been struggling with brain fog and mental sluggishness by typing yes or no in the chat. So what is brain fog? So brain fog is basically a dysfunction, a cognitive dysfunction that's characterized by confusion, memory issues, and lack of mental clarity. So it's just a group of symptoms that you will have that affect your ability to think clearly. And some symptoms include difficulty concentrating and focusing, confusion or disorientation, slowed thinking or processing speed, trouble finding words or expressing thoughts clearly. And so the main causes are, of course, we know estrogen and progesterone, and then we know sleep quality. And then during perimenopause, a lot of women will actually have more stress either due to life or due to the changes in the body caused by perimenopause. So estrogen and progesterone regulate mood and cognitive function. And so when we have lower levels of estrogen in the brain, it can lead to things like forgetfulness, trouble focusing, and mental fatigue. And one thing that I've learned is that we have receptors everywhere. We have receptors in our brain, in our eyes, in our ears, all the way down to our toes. It Estrogen affects every system, every body system. And this is why women have so many different symptoms. So sleep quality. So we know those night sweats and hot flashes and anxiety can definitely interfere with sleep. When we know that when we don't get enough sleep, it affects our cognitive performance, and that leads to brain fog. So we're not as mentally clear. We forget simple things that we know. We forget words. We forget just things on our to-do list. So it's important to know that you're not going crazy. This is the brain's response to the decreasing estrogen levels in the brain. So we know that hormonal changes can increase the stress response, and that can cause mood swings, which makes it harder to concentrate and remember things. Again, we talked about insulin resistance, and this is really important because when we become more insulin resistant and insulin isn't allowing the sugar in the food that we eat to enter the cells, this deprives the brain from the energy that it needs to function well. And so this can make our thinking sluggish, and the forgetting words, the short-term memory, all of that stuff comes with it. In addition to the fact that the decreasing levels of estrogen already having an impact on the brain. So some lifestyle hacks are to spend time outside. So spending 10 to 15 minutes outside can increase blood flow to your brain and help reset your focus. And if you pair that with deep breathing, we know that deep breathing turns off fight or flight, which is the stress response, and it turns on the rest and digest response. So especially for perimenopausal women, anything that we can do to turn on the rest and digest response will be beneficial for us. It's beneficial for our mental clarity, for digestion, and for stress management. So some nutrition hacks is to add healthy fats to your diet. So we know that as we enter perimenopause, we're in a more inflammatory state. And we know that inflammation is not limited to just one area. It also affects the brain. So if we're in an inflammatory state, it's all the systems. So eating healthy fats, polyunsaturated fats, omega-3 fatty acids, this actually helps tone down that inflammation. And you can do this by adding foods like salmon, walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds. And this helps tone down the inflammation in the brain, which helps support the brain during perimenopause because we know that it's affected by the decreasing estrogen. And then this helps support our focus, memory, and our clarity. Also, stabilizing your blood sugar, which is making sure that you're eating foods that are rich in protein and fiber. Okay, so we're going to do our little interactive part. So I'm going to type in the quiz website. So if you want to take the quiz, you can take it. If you don't, that's fine. But let me type it in here. And it's just a short quiz, and it just allows you to know whether or not you're thriving, surviving, or struggling during perimenopause. And when you're done with the quiz, you can go ahead and put what your results are. So if it's thriving, surviving, or struggling. So is everyone able to get to the quiz? So if you decided to take it, you could go ahead and let me know once you get your result, what your result is, and then we'll go on to the rest of we can discuss it and then we'll go on to the rest of the presentation. I think we just have two more challenges or symptoms. So once you finish the quiz, you can put your results in the chat and then we could discuss it at the end. So we all do the quiz and then we could just discuss it. So if anyone needs to go, they can go. I see, Sada, you have surviving. So I'm going to just get back to the presentation. So if anyone will need to leave at the end, you can do that. And if anyone wants to stay and discuss it, we can do that. I think that's a little bit more efficient and respects everyone's time. Okay, so if you want to take the quiz, you can take it. The link is in the chat. Okay, so insomnia and difficulty sleeping is the next thing that we're going to discuss. And so, do you wake up at 3 a.m. with your mind racing, or do you wake up feeling like you're overheating, or does anxiety wake you up like at 3 a.m. and you're just like, why am I thinking all of these thoughts? If so, go ahead and put a yes or a no in the chat. So, difficulty sleeping is or insomnia is one of the many signs of perimenopause. And of course, it's caused by the hormonal changes that affect the sleep cycles, temperature regulation shifts, which is caused by the hot flashes and night sweats. And also, stress can impact sleep quality. We know that anxiety can keep us from sleeping well. So, sleep is a complex process that is needed for physical, emotional, and mental health. And unfortunately, during perimenopause, this is one of the things to go. And we know that sleep affects every area, like it says here, physical, emotional, and mental. So it's important to really understand what is going on during sleep. So muscle and tissue repair, learning and memory consolidation. So basically, while we're sleeping, our brain is putting together all the things that we've learned and helping us process it. And then maintaining mood stability and mental health. And this one is definitely important because a lot of women, not every woman, but a lot of women will actually have increased anxiety, rage, or depression during perimenopause. And so everyone doesn't have that, but it is important to notice that and note that because if you suddenly notice that your moods are more intense, usually what doctors will do is they'll just put you on an antidepressant or some sort of mood stabilizing medication, but you need to make sure that it's not perimenopause, right? In some cases, it can help with both. But again, I'm not a mental health professional, I'm not a psychiatrist. So you want to make sure you're just not meds aren't just being dumped on you. You need to make sure, is it actually, anxiety? Um, is it actually diagnosed anxiety, not just like the regular anxiety we have? Is it diagnosed anxiety? Is it actual diagnosed depression? So you make sure that you aren't getting treatment that you don't need. And so what I mean by that is some women, they'll get on hormone replacement therapy, right? Which is you're just replacing estrogen by either the bioidentical form, which is the plant-based form, or the animal form, which is the conventional hormone replacement therapy. And all of their mood symptoms will be gone, right? So if you can address it with that instead of some of the mood medications that may have side effects, all medications have side effects, but you want to make sure that you're getting the appropriate treatment. And in order to do that, you would have to make sure that you are tracking your symptoms and then you are with a healthcare provider that is actually listening to you and not gaslighting you, because that occurs a lot during perimenopause. A lot of my clients have said that their their doctors have tried to put them on antidepressants when they didn't need it. They found a doctor to put them on hormone replacement therapy, and everything went away. And again, we have to remember that everyone doesn't respond the same. So sometimes you have to test that out with that provider. So perimenopause interferes with non-REM sleep. So if you're one of those people that you sleep 8 hours and you wake up and you feel so groggy, you feel even worse than if you hadn't slept. What's happening is stage 3 sleep, which is non-REM sleep, is the stage of sleep that we get that restorative sleep, that when we wake up, we feel energized, we feel ready to take on the day. So a lack of stage 3 sleep causes feelings of tiredness and exhaustion, even if you've gotten a full night of rest. And so estrogens, the decreasing estrogen or the fluctuating estrogen levels can actually decrease the amount of time we spend in stage 3 sleep. It's associated with poor sleep quality, and also progesterone makes it difficult for us to fall and stay asleep. So it's important to know that it's more likely the hormones, and then to also realize that these hormones also play a role in the neurotransmitters that affect whether or not we have anxiety or depression. So temperature regulation shifts, night sweats and hot flushes definitely interfere with sleep because you wake up overheating, you wake up in a cold sweat, and that is never good for sleep. And when that has happened for me, it's very difficult for me to go back to sleep. So these are things that can interfere with your sleep. So stress. So a lot of women stress out. Just life is stressful, but also the different changes in their body. And so if you're stressed, what happens is your body is producing cortisol, producing and releasing cortisol, which is a fight or flight hormone, the stress hormone, and that interferes with melatonin. So in the morning, when we're waking up, our cortisol levels go up, and in the evening, cortisol levels decrease and melatonin levels go up. So melatonin is a hormone that helps prepare your body for sleep. And so if you have high levels of cortisol at night, you're not going to get restful sleep. So it's important to do anything that you can to help increase your cortisol levels in the morning, like going outside, being in nature, being in the sunlight. Those are things that trigger the release of cortisol. And then in the evening, creating like a simple wind down routine that helps your body realize that, hey, it's time for me to rest, and then it starts releasing that melatonin. So I just touched on it, the lifestyle hack, creating a wind down routine. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. It could be 2 or 3 things. And definitely setting a regular bedtime and then setting up a routine. Because the brain likes routine, it's easier for your body to know, hey, it's time to go to bed if you do the same thing consistently every day or every night. The nutrition hack is to eat magnesium-rich foods. So magnesium is the stress mineral. It helps the body relax, it helps calm your nervous system, and it actually helps promote restful sleep. I recommend you can take any magnesium, but if you have a lot of anxiety, magnesium biglycinate is wonderful for that. It helps tone down and get the brain to relax. Magnesium citrate can also do the same thing. Um, you can also get it from foods. Magnesium is in almonds, spinach, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate. It's in dark leafy greens, quinoa, like plant-based foods. You can find magnesium, and then also if you want to supplement. So we're coming to an end. So imagine feeling confident and in control, watching your body transform as your healthy eating and active lifestyle finally starts to pay off. Imagine waking up feeling clear, focused, and energized, ready to take on whatever comes your way. And then imagine waking up with the energy and excitement to take on your day without needing that third cup of coffee. So I've been where you are. I know what it feels like to wake up feeling exhausted, no matter how much sleep I got, feeling like my body's working against me, not with me, fighting with bloating, brain fog, and the frustration of that unwanted weight gain, and then wondering if things will get better. So the truth is, you don't have to go on this journey alone. I've walked through this journey and I've discovered a way through it, a way that works with my body, not against it. So the next step is to, if you're interested is to book a clarity call. And basically, what I'll do is I will create a little blueprint based on your top one or two concerns. You don't have to navigate perimenopause alone. These challenges are real, but so are the solutions. So today is the first step towards feeling like yourself again. To dive deeper and get a personalized plan, book your Beyond Perimenopause Blueprint call now, and then we'll create sustainable change. So if you're interested in that, I'll put that link in the chat. And then if you have any questions or want to discuss your quiz, we can also do that. So, and the Beyond Perimenopause Blueprint call is complimentary. It's free. It doesn't charge, it doesn't cost anything. And uh, so if that's something you're interested in, I have just 5 to 6 limited spots. Um, go in there and then schedule it if that's what you're interested in. So, are there any questions about the presentation? Do you have any questions in general? If you go in to schedule a time and a time doesn't work for you, you can go ahead and just send me a quick email and um, I can add you into my schedule. We can work something out. So, suggestions to address hot flashes as they're happening. So, what I'll do is I'll usually just get up, go get a cold glass of water, and that usually helps me. But most of the things that I know are to like help prevent it, like wearing light clothing. Um, and then it's kind of tricky in the winter because it's cold. Usually what I'll do is I'll just toss my covers off. But for the number one thing I do for addressing hot flashes as they're occurring is to put my fan on and to drink a glass of cold water. I just usually do a glass because unfortunately during perimenopause, the the bladder is sensitive to estrogen, and as the estrogen levels decrease, um, we have less tolerance to hold water. And so I just do one glass so I don't end up waking up having to go to the bathroom multiple times because that will also decrease your sleep time. So I just drink a glass, and sometimes it may not even be the whole, it may be half of a glass. So what I would say, Victoria, is to just test it out. Test out what works for you because maybe a glass is too much, So for me, it's either half a glass or a glass. Like if it's in the summer, it's usually a full glass. If it's in the winter, I don't drink as much. But I would say just test it out and see what works for you and your body. And again, when you're drinking the water, what you're just trying to do is kind of like get the body to cool down so the hot flash will stop. So a fan can do that and water. So I usually use both. The fan works a little quicker, but oh no, for the whole day? So no, actually staying hydrated doesn't make you bloated. The more hydrated you are, it can help get rid of that bloat because the bloating is being caused by gas, not by water. So I'll maybe drink 3 to 4 glasses of water, but I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, which also have water. I add chia seeds to my yogurt that also holds on to some water. So what I try to do is because I have never drank 8 glasses of water in a day, and I'm pretty sensitive. If I'm working or traveling for work, I can't be stopping, constantly to go to the bathroom. So what I do is I try to get half of my water from produce, like so apples, strawberries, berries, from foods that have water in them, and then the other half I'll just drink. So whether I'm drinking like ginger ale or water, I try to get that I try to split it up. Foods that are rich in water, again, fruits and vegetables, and then actually drinking water. Does that help? So is there anything that you knew that you learned from this workshop or anything there was an aha? I was actually quite shocked so I've taken so many biology classes and nutrition and health classes. I was quite shocked that no one ever told told me that. like, hey, you need to preserve your lean muscle mass in perimenopause. Like, number one, I was even told that you could get perimenopause in your late 30s. So I thought that it's something that came in your 50s. So I was like, oh, I have time to to strength train and do all these things. But if you start strength training earlier, it helps you navigate perimenopause in a healthier way. And then when you get to menopause, you've already mastered all of these skills. And so you will have an easier time. So yeah, strength training is a big one. Yeah. Yeah. I was upset. I thought perimenopause um hit in your 50s. And I was like, it can't be. It can't be. So are there any other questions or any other um anything else? Like, how would y'all rate this presentation? I'm going to give it again. So, would you recommend that people pick out the presentation? Yes, no. If you could give like a one sentence recommendation, so I can use it when I promote this. I'm going to hold this again in February, and then I'm also going to do a presentation about how perimenopause affects heart health, because that was one that kind of took me off guard too. So. Okay, so if you would recommend this to someone, what is one or two things that you think is um important? Okay, good. I'll add y'all because that one was interesting. So the heart health one, if you want to get the information for the heart health one, go ahead and just let me know in the chat. That one is an eye-opening one. So all the tips I told y'all, start doing them if you're not doing them, because the heart health, the perimenopause and heart health one is an eye opener. So if you're interested in that one, go ahead and let me know. Leanna, that's okay. There'll be a replay. So if you're interested in watching the replay, go ahead and let me know. So if you're interested in the heart health one, say heart health. If you're interested in the replay for this presentation, just put replay. So heart health, if you're interested in the heart health one, and replay for this one. And then I did the heart health presentation a couple months ago, so I can like send y'all a little cheat sheet so y'all are ready with your questions and everything, because that one is really important. It really is important. Yes, Yana, yes. So if that's it, I don't want to keep y'all any longer. So what I'll do is I will copy down this, I'll save this chat, and then I'll go back, and everyone who wants the heart health replay, what I'll do is I will send you like a little brief summary of the last one I had, the last heart health presentation I did, and then bring your questions, because definitely the heart health one was an eye opener for me. I was doing the research and I was in shock because no one talks about it. So everyone who says heart health, what I'll do is I'll send you an email, probably the end of the week, and then I'll also send an email about the heart health presentation when that is, so you can sign up for that. What days work best for y'all? So for presentations, I'm trying to add a couple of more dates, but for me, doing things at the beginning of the week before I have my patients is a little easier, but um, I can schedule around it. It's just towards the end of the week, like I just get slammed. Um, okay, okay. So y'all are saying that this is good. Okay, Mondays, Tuesdays. Okay. Well, do y'all have any other questions? If you don't, I will definitely let you go. And then I'll keep you updated about the perimenopause and heart health presentation.